Blade. Ready to die.
I was born ready, motherfucker.
Okay, welcome to the Real World Podcast. We are back with our third and final episode of The Thirst Winners. This is a podcast miniseries talking about Blade, so obviously we are talking about Blade Trinity today, which is wonderful for everyone. My name is Matt Waters. I am joined by founder of The Real World, Mike Thomas. How are you this time around?
I'm doing very well. I'm reminiscing about my initial Blade Trinity experience in the movie theaters, and fond feelings are rushing through me. Okay,
this will be interesting. We originally were going to do an episode of Pick Your Poison where we're going to be discussing the film Patterson, and I noted to myself, this might be the first time we're going to discuss something that Mike likes and I don't. We've done plenty of me liking things and you not liking them, us both not liking and us both liking. But luckily, even though we didn't get to talk about that, we are going to get to do it this time because it's time for Blade Trinity, which is your favourite Blade film. And while I think the sin of being boring is worse than the sin of being bad, so I will therefore put Blade 2 at the bottom of the list, I think this film is terrible in many, many ways. Still lots of fun to be had in places. I think there was stuff here to make something good out of, but overall, I think it's hot trash. Mike, welcome to a world where you have to defend something to me.
I will adjust based on just rewatching all of them, I will adjust my standing on this film, which is that it is my 1B and Blade can be my 1A.
1A and 1B. Come on.
Because without Blade 1, part of the enjoyment of this one would not, could not exist without that well-established, route. I will say my initial experience with this film definitely colors my overall take from it, which is that it was a very late night screening when I was 15 years old, and This movie features lots of dumb humor for 15-year-olds.
It does.
And I remember just laughing my fucking ass off.
Yep.
It's much like Deadpool, it is nowhere near as funny as it thinks it is. I wonder what the common denominator is there.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, absolutely. I saw this with my best friend in theaters. So I forget how old you are compared to me. We're probably around the same age as you.
I think we're both 28, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, then I probably was also 15. So that is a fond memory for me. I remember laughing at parts that were meant to be funny. I remember laughing at parts that were not meant to be funny. So for that reason, it will always hold a special place for me. But as I have continued to watch this over time, it makes me a bit sad. Okay, so this time around we have Blade is essentially framed for murder and sort of taken in by the FBI and the police, and it turns out the police are working with the vampires. And then also, at the same time, we have Dracula back from the dead.
Yes, Dracula.
Yes, Dracula, Drake. Hot Canadian rapper Drake is the villain of this movie. Blade is rescued from the police by the Night Stalkers, which is a team of vampire hunting people, because Blade is, of course, not the only person devoted to doing that. And the whole plot of him being framed and the real world's reaction to Blade is dropped immediately in favour of Blade versus Dracula. And there's some stuff with a vampire cure which gets used at the end, and it's all it's very messy, Mike. I will say, I think that the concept of the world reacting to Blade, both through the Night Stalkers, who they may they partially hero worship him. They're looking for his approval. They're potentially modelling themselves after him. I think that's an interesting beat to go with, and Blade kind of seeing a reflection of his operation coming back on him and how he reacts to that. All good stuff. The reveal of, he just killed someone who's not a vampire, and oh shit, he's in trouble for realsies with the police, and seeing him on TV and all that. I thought that was all good stuff that they could have run with a lot further. And I actually think they should have just dumped the whole Dracula thing altogether and had a better director and writer who could have taken that idea all the way of Blade's been doing this for a long time, now let's see how the world responds to Blade. Because, I said that as a criticism of the first one, that no one seems to realise he exists. And then they finally kind of do that here. You see it a bit in the second one with the vampires reacting to Blade and having the blood pack. But then you come further with it here with the police after him. It's just, they drop it all together and they just go straight into, oh, I guess just fight Dracula then, and you're fine after breaking out of prison and, like, attacking many police officers. So yeah, that is the part that I like a lot.
Yes. A better director would have been good.
Yes. It's David Goyer, who wrote the first two and replaced the... Who was the first director? Does anyone know? Because I've seen it written that, like, Wesley Snipes hated the first director and got him fired, and that David Goyer stepped in.
Not sure. I know they tried to get Norrington back at one point, but he declined. I don't think that was the person that... I think he declined based on the script, which is understandable.
And Del Toro went off to make Hellboy.
Yes. This film is absolutely an utter mess.
Yes.
Let's make no mistake about it. But what a glorious mess it is. It is such a ridiculous mess. This is the kind of mess that I appreciate in a way that more people would appreciate the mess that is Del Toro's movie. One, what a bizarre ensemble they've assembled here in this film. You have like two of like Christopher Guest's recurring performers and John Michael Higgins and Parker Posey. You have Ryan Reynolds, who at this point really was nowhere close to stardom.
No.
If anything, Jessica Biel was probably the bigger name at the time in terms of the Hollywood machine trying to create a star.
Absolutely. And like, I was thinking this as watching it, I was like, she's a name that everyone knows, but I couldn't list off her signature film. Like, I would probably go to this.
Like Patton Oswalt is in this one for some reason.
Yeah.
And he's a great person for stories about the making of this movie. He's pretty much the go-to person because he has no reason not to tell the stories, and the stories are ridiculous with Wesley Snipes. Basically, all the interviews about Wesley Snipes for Blade 2, like in terms of like other people talking about it, it's like you hear people say really passionately, Wesley Snipes is Blade. He just gets Blade.
Yeah.
And then with this film, it's Wesley Snipes thinks he's fucking Blade.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's like the difference between the making of those two films.
I've heard it alleged that he would only respond to Blade.
Yes.
Refuse to shoot scenes, openly hostile to director, openly hostile to Ryan Reynolds, potentially used racially charged language towards Ryan Reynolds. What a nightmare.
That being said, just what a wonderful mess this movie is. The outfits, this like leftover vampires. I mean, that's what this movie feels like in a lot of ways. It's like the leftovers. It's like Blade has like burned the world over twice.
Yeah.
But one, the vampires are too abundant to actually wipe them out.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of a question they addressed with the final solution. So they've
which they could not use as terminology, could they?
Yeah. That's what it's called, right? I'm not remembering.
Yeah, no, they say it like 3 times.
Jesus Christ. They, like, because the vampires are at this point, it's clear they are just everywhere.
Yes.
Like, there is no going back. But there's kind of a vacuum at the top in terms of, like, of the Machiavellian, like, we want to do some evil shit vampires, not just the run-of-the-mill, let's take over,
I mean,
the everyday institutions.
Frost killed the council, Blade killed Frost, Nomak killed Damaskinos.
Yeah.
The Blood Pack are dead. Like, who's left?
So like, there's a vacuum up top, and who's left? But like Parker Posey and her army of like idiotic minions, including her brother that they tease an incestuous relationship with.
They sure do.
This is the biggest group of misfits ever, and I love it. First of all, Parker Posey is fantastic.
I disagree.
She decides to go to 11 here, and it's fantastic. Her outfits are incredible.
Yes, I like the look. I like the hairdo that Ryan Reynolds makes fun of. Her
scene where she makes fun of Blade's tattoos are incredible.
She like calls herself stupid or something. She's like stupid.
No, she's not. I think she's talking about the tattoos.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, was Mila Jovovich busy? Because it kind of feels like a role she would do.
No, Parker Posey was way better.
Okay then.
All right, so you have that whole situation. Yeah. One, they decide, okay, what's the next big thing we can do with Blade? Let's have him fight fucking Dracula. Yeah. First off, why is this movie not called Blade versus Dracula? Mm-hmm. Second of all,
it would be
they decide to turn... They basically make Dracula invincible. Mm-hmm. He claims to have been there when Jesus was burned or was nailed to the cross.
Yeah.
Which is just like a wild throwaway line to put in there. Also, I watched the extended edition, so if I ever say anything that doesn't speak
Right.
about
I was going to say, I don't think I know that, but hey.
Okay, so there's a scene, maybe it's a deleted scene from the theatrical version, but he talks about how he was there when Jesus was like nailed at the cross and how he died for their sins and blah 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 blah. It's fantastic. He's also a shapeshifter, and for some reason he chooses to just the shape of Dominic Purcell throughout the entire movie.
Of all the shapes to choose,
it's so nonsensical. It's just like, let me immediately look like a modern, like, it doesn't. Why? Where? Like, at least get it from somewhere.
Do you remember when Prison Break was such a big deal that they thought that these two dudes would be stars? And
I don't think Prison Break started till 2005, but was it 2003?
Oh my god. I assumed it got him this role, and then it was like, nah, you're not doing anything for... Oh, man. Okay.
It's so ridiculous. Like, this is like their big bad. They finally are going to go to Dracula, and this is what we get.
Wearing his open white shirts and many necklaces and leather trousers and I don't know, but yeah, it's bad. It's bad. It's really, really bad.
Yeah, it's just a marvel. The kill Whistler again 10 minutes into this film.
They do.
Terrible. And it's just a total rush scene where Blade doesn't really have any time to really deal with what happened.
Yeah.
Dumb.
I mean, Blade versus the FBI in a film where they pace this out better, I'm okay with that. But to do it 10 minutes in and then dump it all together and kill Whistler like that, it's like, ugh. And then Dracula fucking comes back as Whistler near the end for no reason.
Yeah.
To trick a bunch of people that have, like, barely met him, if ever.
And, like, why would he know Whistler? Why would he know what he looked like? How did he know to go there? All these are wonderful questions that more fancier films could have time to answer.
Do you think they decided they paid Chris Christopherson too much money to do just one scene, so they thought, could you walk wearing an outfit you probably wouldn't wear? Cool, thanks.
That was my thought as well. So then we get introduced to the Night Stalkers.
Yeah.
I swear to God, this movie came out in 2004. They legitimately feel like how could we make fun of millennials in a Blade movie kind of thing. It's like, they're so ironic. He wears a name tag that says, "My name is fuck you."
Oh, isn't that funny when you're 15?
This is a far more accurate precursor to Deadpool than X-Men's Origins Wolverine. Like, it's so dumb, but it almost works because of the contrast with Blade.
Yeah. Blade the straight man kind of works.
Yeah. Blade versus Reynolds, I think, is probably the most endearing part of this movie. And it also makes Reynolds' insufferableness a little bit more fun because Blade's right there to be like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. He hates
trying to kill vampires.
Yeah.
That's all well and good.
Ryan Reynolds is good at. I mean, they take it so far, and it gets annoying. But like, there are some genuinely great beats with him, like running away from the dogs and then falling through the hole and hitting his head and ending up right back where he was and stuff like that. I thought was good.
All good stuff.
But I feel someone just had too good of a time trying to write insulting, annoying, like ADHD dialogue for Ryan Reynolds. I mean, if Wesley Snipes was just going to sit in his trailer and smoke weed, then, I mean, I guess give Ryan Reynolds more lines. I don't know. I
will say, Jessica Biel, who has gotten some praise for some of her recent work, she's really terrible here.
She's nothing. She's like an empty white girl vessel.
It's really bad.
She was going to be a descendant of Van Helsing, and then they wanted to make her Whistler's daughter instead. And I don't know which version I prefer.
She also delivers one of the most inhuman lines later. "I was born out of wedlock years later." I'm just like,
that's how people describe themselves.
That's how normal human beings talk all the time. Of course, I was born. It was almost like a placeholder line. Yeah. Where they're like, okay, this is what happened. We'll come up with something better later. And they just forgot.
In the historical documentary about the Whistler family.
Oh my god, everything about this movie is such a delight.
She's got her cool, like, she listens to playlists while fighting, and like, you know.
Oh my god, that's
the technology of the time.
She likes to listen to MP3s while she hunts. Like, it's like this, like, weird.
A 40-year-old man heard how the teens are talking these days.
What's up, my fellow kids? Yes, like the full Steve Buscemi meme.
In theory, her listening to like her own music while fighting and using a bow and all that kind of stuff, I'm down with all of that. But the execution is so not cool.
Oh, it's so great. And then I think all of her weapons, though, seem relatively impractical.
Yeah, the weird, like, UV, like, bow thing is weird. Like,
I mean, it's basically just like a lightsaber with a top and a handle.
Half as hot as the sun. So, you know, it should be setting fire to this entire room just by existing, but never mind.
Do they actually say that as half as hot as the sun?
Yes. Half as hot as the sun.
Yeah, it's a really... It doesn't seem practical or helpful. Like, the one use they found of it, I was like, well, I guess that's impressive if you are being... If you have your use of your hands and someone's behind you, you can somewhat quickly use it to kill that person in a surprise move.
Yeah.
But, like, even just using a bow and arrow, just like, why? Like, what?
Because bow and arrows are cool, Mike. Like, for as impractical as they are cool in movies.
They are cool.
Hawkeye is my favourite Avenger.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
That's not true. Not the part where you're not surprised, the part where he's my favourite Avenger. They also rob her of, like, a boss fight. Like, Blade goes one-on-one with Dracula, Ryan Reynolds fights Triple H and Danica. I mean, he has the history of Danica, so it kind of makes sense, but it's like... So you got 3 kind of main villains, and you got 3 main characters, and you thought Ryan Reynolds could fight 2 of them, while Jessica Biel just runs around shooting randoms. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and rescuing the girl, like, okay, like, whatever. She doesn't get... Yeah. I did find that... I was kind of waiting, like, wait, who does she fight at the end?
No one.
Yes.
Even though she's kind of shown to be more physically capable than Hannibal King is, but hey.
Yes. And then it all leads to this amazing... I'd say probably the worst fight Wesley Snipes has in these movies with Drake.
Where
but it does start
Dracula
off with,
looks like he doesn't know how to use a sword. Like,
yes, it's very much like Game of Thrones sword play, where it's like the actors don't have time, aren't paid enough to like train how to use a sword, so they just look like it's your uncle out there flailing around.
Yeah.
Like, Jorah Mormont is supposed to be one of the best swordsmen in the Seven Kingdoms, and, like, man, it looks like he's never trained with a sword ever before whenever he fights. It's awesome.
Indeed.
Love television budgets. But, Dracula says to him, Blade, ready to die. I was born ready, motherfucker. Oh, what a great line. What a great line. Also, the other like great one Blade has is the police chief's like, man, they're going to kill me. It's like, motherfucker, I'll kill you.
Yeah, I love that.
That was great. Oh, I love Blade. But,
and, like, clearly a location scout got very excited when they found this building. Like, it's multi-levels, there's bridges, there's glass, it'll be great. And then just they got the worst, like, stunt choreographer going and just wasted it. Because that could be cool, but no, not at all.
And really, it's the only proper sword fight he has, because like the one with Steffendorf does not really go on for that long. It doesn't really feel like a sword fight.
And he doesn't need
a
sword, because when he cuts him, he just comes back together. So
yeah. And then, whatever, they use the final solution.
Yeah, they do.
And there's actually a major difference between the theatrical ending and the extended edition ending.
Doesn't Blade die?
So yes,
I know about the werewolf ending, but
I prefer the theatrical ending. The theatrical ending is that Drake, respecting Blade's like fighting with honor, his one final gift is he takes the shape of Blade, and
the FBI bring his body in and think they've got Blade, but actually you've just got Dracula. So shady human government have access to the corpse of Dracula. So great.
Yeah. The extended edition is Drake just disappears. Mm-hmm. They take Blade back, and there's a really clunky voiceover from Reynolds. By the way, why is Ryan Reynolds the voiceover for all this?
Because he's more charismatic,
I guess. And like Blade just like wakes up and Reynolds explains he's a hybrid, so his heart never stopped. Like, what?
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's all just so fantastic. Yeah, I have a huge soft spot for this movie. It's a big fat mess.
The scene where Drake goes into the
vampire shop?
Yeah, with Dracula vibrators and stuff. It's like, okay.
Like, how did that not end up on the cutting room floor? Like,
I don't know. Maybe they noticed that Dracula isn't doing anything and he's motherfucking Dracula, so why isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, that feels like the stand-in for the scene where the villain has to, like, effortlessly kill hundreds of people, and they just were like, maybe he goes into a store and just roughs up some emos.
Yeah. There's I was actually reminded of X-Men Apocalypse a few times when watching this movie, and because I think digging up the ancient villain kind of idea is kind of inherently just not interesting, especially if we don't get enough time with the villain and the villain doesn't feel like a human being.
Yeah. And just their execution with Dracula is just so off. I mean, absolutely play into the aspect where, like, you know, Dracula is more of a demon than he is, and like he's the original vampire and he can shapeshift, but do things with those things. Don't just say he can do them and then just have it boil down to
a sword fight.
Yeah, and he like takes on 3 different shapes. And in the final fight, like basically Dracula kicks Blade's ass, Abigail Whistler shoots the final solution dart at him. He catches it, drops it, she shoots him again, which allows Blade to stab him with the original arrow. It's like, what an underwhelming like final finish to like allegedly the most difficult villain that Blade has ever faced. It's like, oh, come on.
And you know, if you want a sign of how poor of a writer David Goyer is so right after Whistler dies, Blade's in the jail and he's getting rescued by Ryan Reynolds. And all of a sudden Ryan Reynolds screams out, "Whistler," which causes Blade to stir. And it's, of course, Abigail Whistler.
Makes sense.
Whistler. But Ryan Reynolds never calls Abigail Whistler again throughout the single movie. Clearly just like, that's just such a red flag for shitty writing. It's like, I hate shortcuts. I hate shortcuts like that.
Yeah. The big info dump with explaining who Dracula is and all of that, which Ryan Reynolds narrates and even looks directly into camera for a couple of times. Really, really bad. Why does Dracula run away from Blade in the middle of the film?
You mean where he's got the baby?
Yeah. Like, they show up to this psychiatrist's office, who's also a familiar, and they get there, and suddenly they realise that this dude they're looking at is also dead on the floor. Oh, it's Dracula. They engage in a tiny fight, which doesn't go badly for Dracula. He decides to run away fast from Blade and like keep running, and then, you know, the baby thing. It's like, why? Why does he do this? Like, in his mind, no one is a match for him. He's yet to see any evidence that Blade might be able to take him. The scene isn't like going badly for him. It's like, why is he running? Like, it doesn't feel true to character.
No.
It feels like something Deacon Frost would do, but not Dracula.
Yeah.
Why does Dracula also have the Reaper-style mouth opening? And also, why does the Pomeranian have it?
I thought the same thing. I think the Pomeranian is just because, you know, that's the genetic, you know, capabilities that they have, that splicing that they have.
I mean, I guess if I do the work for them, Damaskinos was trying to, like, restore vampires to the strength from before, and maybe with that came the Reaper, like, mouth thing. But it's like, it felt really weird. Like, they just had this tech lying around from last time, and they thought they'd use it again.
Yeah.
Still, funny to laugh as like Triple H runs around corners being too bulky to move right and stuff like that. Funny to laugh at some of Ryan Reynolds' dialogue. And like, they clearly thought this was going to be a hit because there is an alternate ending with... Is it just Hannibal King or is it Abigail Whistler as well? Like, they're fighting like a werewolf-vampire hybrid, and they thought they were going to maybe do a Night Stalkers film. Is that
the after credits?
I thought it was like a deleted ending. Is it in the credits? I don't know, but... Yeah.
No, I've never seen it, so...
Oh, okay. Well, there's a deleted ending where Blade is completely absent, but I think they're at like a casino or something like that, and like Hannibal and possibly Whistler are fighting a werewolf-vampire hybrid to kind of take the universe bigger and say there's more than just vampires, and they were...
Yeah, sounds bad.
Yeah, just imagine making this and thinking, oh yeah, we're on to something here. Almost everyone in it is bad. I struggle to find a piece of good acting in here. Maybe when Blade gets taken by the police and he's just so despondent, that's kind of okay, but...
Blade is still Blade, though. Blade's still Blade. Like, yeah, he could sleepwalk through the role, which he clearly is doing, but he's still Blade. Reynolds gives it his all.
Reynolds passes his audition to go play the Green Lantern.
Patton Oswalt, I think, it works really well as just completely misplaced in this movie.
Yeah. He's fine. He's fine.
I enjoy castings like that. Parker Posey's amazing.
If you say so.
But yeah, what a just delightful watchable mess of a movie in the best way possible.
Indeed. But I think it's time to stop talking about it. Have you ever seen the Blade TV show?
I've not.
I have it on DVD. I've seen every episode once. Could not tell you anything that happened in it. The guy that replaced Wesley Snipes is like surprisingly okay, but yeah, it's
Sticky Fingers.
Sticky Fingers.
His rap name is
Indeed.
Sticky Fingers.
Indeed, of Onyx. And Marvel have the rights to this character back. Wesley Snipes, I feel like, has never stopped saying, "Oh yeah, I hope to get Blade going again."
I'm taking meetings.
Yes, I am 100% sure that he believes with certainty that Marvel would be willing to put him in a new Blade movie, but who knows what will happen. Maybe Blade will find his way onto Netflix, as we move away from the Defenders characters. I don't know. I know that there is so much promise and hope with what we had with Blade at times. I know that, as we've mentioned in these podcasts, there's so much that you kind of don't see anywhere else in superhero movies and just action movies in some ways. And I kind of wish that things had gone a bit differently. I wish some different decisions had been made, especially with this third one. And I would like to see if time were taken on it and someone actually came up with a convincing pitch and everything. I would like to see where they would go next with Blade. But maybe that is just me nostalgically holding on to 3 films that at one time I liked a lot more than I do now.
Yeah. Also it's like, I think the appetite for reboots is rapidly becoming non-existent. That, and this would be a gratuitous reboot. Like, the world is not craving Blade. The world does not need more Blade. I can't even aggressively say it should happen.
No, it just seems inevitable.
I think there's room for Marvel rated R corner of their universe.
Yeah, Blade versus Deadpool.
I think Blade would fit in very well on a team with Deadpool, Cable, all that shit. All that stuff.
I like how far that went.
I blanked on all their names for a second. I don't think there's enough there to Blade to be a TV show lead. I mean, a TV show.
I mean, that's the thing with the character throughout. He's cool as fuck, and Wesley Snipes owns those one-liners and everything. But there's not enough to him to flesh him out as a character that you continually care about. And his big complaint with the third one is them introducing all these other characters that take away his screen time. It's well, where the fuck do you where's the pathos before this? He says his favourite one is Blade 2, which introduces the Blood Pack and all these other extra characters. So to me, I don't know what he's getting at there, but it is difficult because he is a kind of paper-thin character, but it's a cool one. And yeah,
he's a fully realized character. There's no more change to be had.
Yeah.
So you need a Karen in there. You need a Whistler. And you probably need... I think you need I would do something like a protege type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I think I told you, something where Blade has disappeared and someone has tried to take out the mantle and that causes Blade to return.
Yeah, which is almost where they could have been going with the Night Stalkers, but no.
You could legitimately have someone just calling themselves Blade. It's pretty much like Batman. He's not actually Blade.
Yeah.
That's not his name.
His name is Eric Brooks.
Yeah. So, I don't know, the Blade trilogy, it's kind of a missed opportunity. It's kind of a cool little gem, though, on the corner of superhero comics, movies. I'm also perfectly content if it never comes back in any form, though. It exists, it's there, it happened, there's lots of pauses we could take from it.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all we need.
I mean, he hasn't had a huge presence in Marvel Comics, but, they're doing everything they're doing, so maybe we'll see him back, but I agree
it's
with those
even
sentiments.
I think pretending that mutants have been around this entire time is a bad idea. I think pretending that vampires have been around this entire time in the MCU is a bad idea. I don't think you can... I don't know. I don't think you can just throw that out there.
Bring him in from another dimension. It doesn't matter. We're not going to pitch future Blade films. This has been fun. This has been The Thirst Winners. And this has been another Real World podcast. Enter therealworld.com. Mike and Matt on SoundCloud. Search for The Real World on Facebook, on the Twitter, everywhere. That's Real World with 2 E's because it's a pun. And it's one that Ryan Reynolds would have been proud of in Blade 3. I've been Matt. He's been Mike. Thank you. We'll probably have another podcast project coming soon. Who knows?
Maybe.